Is it possible that a secret long locked behind the smiles of two global icons has finally cracked open because of one unexpected voice, a mother's voice? And if so, why now? Why, at a moment when everything seemed calm, has a new wave emerged that is making fans question everything about the relationship between Taehyung Jungkook and Kim Taehyung? These questions now hang in the air, pulling in curiosity that is impossible to ignore, as if opening the door to a story far more complex than anyone ever imagined. Jakarta, on a Monday night that felt quieter than usual. The online world suddenly trembled with a fragment of information that was not only shocking, but also shook the very foundation of how people perceive one of the most iconic friendships in BTS. It all began with a narrative that spread rapidly, a statement allegedly coming from a figure who has always remained far from the spotlight, Jungkook's mother. A figure who rarely appears, who almost never speaks publicly, suddenly being mentioned as the key to a revelation that could change how the world sees Jungkook and Taehyung's bond. No one was truly ready for this. Even fans who have followed their journey from the beginning seem divided between believing and rejecting it. How could something that always appeared so solid, full of laughter and warmth, actually hide deeper layers of untold stories? Or is this simply an overinterpretation of incomplete fragments of information? One thing is certain, curiosity has already spread, and it is now impossible to stop. The initial source of this uproar was said to come from a private conversation that somehow leaked to the public. Within that conversation, the names Jungkook and Taehyung were mentioned in a context different from what people are used to, not just as group members, not merely as best friends, but as two individuals with a more complex dynamic. What made it even more shocking was that the narrative was tied to the perspective of a mother who may have seen something the cameras never truly captured. What exactly does that mean? This is where everything becomes unclear, yet even more intriguing. Some claim that Jungkook's mother hinted at a change in the relationship between Jungkook and Taehyung over the past few years. A change not always visible in public, but something that could be felt in the way they interacted behind the scenes. Does this suggest a hidden conflict? Or something more emotional, more personal, deliberately kept away from the public eye? Clues began to be pieced together by observant fans. They revisited old videos, analyzed every gesture, every glance, even every pause in conversations between Jungkook and Taehyung. Some pointed out moments where the two seemed slightly awkward, unlike their usual selves. Others recalled periods when their interactions appeared to decrease. Was it coincidence or part of a bigger story? Amid the growing speculation, voices of reason also emerged. Some K-pop industry observers reminded the public that relationships within a group as massive as BTS are never as simple as they appear. Pressure, tight schedules, and global expectations can all affect personal dynamics. What appears to be distance might simply be a phase, not a permanent conflict. Yet, the alleged statement from Jungkook's mother made everything feel different, more real, more connected to the human side rarely shown. And this is where the real twist lies. If the public has always seen Jungkook and Taehyung as two figures with undeniable chemistry, this narrative opens the possibility of a deeper story, a story about growth, change, and perhaps even differences that arise over time. A story that is not always perfect, but precisely because of that, feels more real. Some sources even claim that the secret in question is not something negative, but something deeply personal and emotional, something never meant for public consumption. If that is true, then this leak is not only shocking, but also raises ethical questions. Does the world truly have the right to know every detail of their private lives? Yet human curiosity often overpowers such boundaries. In this case, every small piece of information instantly became material for massive analysis. Even the smallest detail, like a facial expression in an old interview, could be debated by thousands as evidence. On the other hand, there has been no official confirmation from either Jungkook or Taehyung. This silence only intensifies the speculation. Are they choosing not to respond because the issue is untrue? Or because it is too sensitive to address publicly? Or perhaps they are carefully considering the best way to protect their privacy while respecting their fans. What is clear is that this situation has created a complex wave of emotions. Some feel worried, others are curious, and some try to remain rational. But nearly everyone agrees that the relationship between Jungkook and Taehyung is one of the most iconic elements of BTS, and the idea that there might be something hidden beneath it is difficult to ignore. As time passes, the narrative continues to evolve. Some have begun questioning the authenticity of the original source. Did it truly come from Jungkook's mother, or is it simply an exaggerated interpretation? In the fast-moving digital world, the line between fact and assumption often becomes blurred. And this is where the real challenge lies, distinguishing what is true from what is merely speculation. Regardless, one thing cannot be denied: the sheer power of this story to capture attention. The combination of mystery, emotion, and globally recognized figures makes it impossible to ignore. Everyone has their own interpretation, each trying to piece together the puzzle in their own way. And perhaps, beneath all of this, there is a bigger lesson. That behind the dazzling stage lights and constant media attention, there are human beings with emotions, complexities, and stories that cannot always be understood from the outside. Jungkook and Taehyung are not just idols, they are individuals navigating their own life journeys, with all the dynamics that come with it. Is there truly a secret? Or is this simply a shadow formed by curiosity and collective imagination? For now, the answer remains unclear. But one thing is certain: this story has opened a wider conversation about how the public views, judges, and tries to understand the private lives of public figures. But what if the silence itself is the loudest clue of all? What if, in the absence of denial or confirmation, something far more intricate is quietly unfolding behind the scenes, something that cannot simply be explained through a statement or clarified in a press release? The longer the silence stretches, the deeper the speculation grows, feeding an atmosphere where every past moment is reinterpreted, every shared glance re-examined, and every fragment of interaction becomes a potential piece of a much larger, hidden narrative. The digital landscape, relentless and unforgiving, continues to amplify even the faintest whispers. Old footage resurfaces, interviews once forgotten are suddenly dissected with microscopic attention, and timelines are constructed by fans attempting to map emotional shifts that may or may not exist. A laugh that once seemed carefree is now questioned. A pause in conversation is no longer just a pause, it becomes a sign. And somewhere in this growing web of interpretation, the line between observation and imagination begins to blur in ways that are both fascinating and deeply unsettling. There is something undeniably powerful about the idea that a mother, someone who exists outside the machinery of fame, might hold a perspective untouched by performance or expectation. The mere suggestion that Jungkook's mother could have seen something real, something unfiltered, gives weight to the narrative in a way that ordinary rumors rarely achieve. It introduces a sense of intimacy that feels almost intrusive, as though the audience has been allowed to peer into a space they were never meant to enter. Yet this is precisely what makes the situation so emotionally charged. Fans are not merely observers. They are emotionally invested participants in a story that has unfolded over years. The bond between Jungkook and Taehyung has been celebrated, analyzed, and cherished as one of the defining elements of their journey within BTS. To even entertain the possibility that there may be unseen tensions or unspoken complexities feels, to some, like a disruption of something deeply personal. And still, others lean into the mystery. They argue that growth inevitably brings change, that no relationship, no matter how strong, is immune to evolution. Perhaps what is being interpreted as distance is simply maturity. Perhaps what feels like silence is actually understanding. But then again, why would such interpretations emerge now, and why would they be tied to a narrative involving Jungkook's mother? This question lingers, refusing to fade. Timing, after all, is rarely accidental in the world of public perception. Whether intentional or not, the emergence of this story coincides with a period where individual identities, personal paths, and future directions are being discussed more openly than ever before. Could it be that the narrative is not about conflict at all, but about transition? About two individuals navigating their own trajectories while still being connected by a shared past that the world refuses to let go of? The emotional weight of that possibility is difficult to ignore. Because if the story is not one of betrayal or hidden conflict, but rather one of change, then it becomes something far more relatable and far more bittersweet. Change does not always announce itself dramatically. Sometimes it arrives quietly, reshaping dynamics in ways that are only noticeable in hindsight. Still, the question of authenticity remains at the center of everything. In an era where information travels faster than verification, the origin of a story can easily become obscured. Was there truly a statement? Was something misheard, misinterpreted, or perhaps even fabricated entirely? These uncertainties do little to slow the momentum. If anything, they fuel it further, creating an environment where speculation thrives precisely because clarity is absent. Meanwhile, the absence of response from both Jungkook and Taehyung continues to be interpreted in countless ways. Some see it as a strategic choice, a refusal to validate rumors by engaging with them. Others view it as a sign that the situation is too delicate to address publicly. And then there are those who believe that silence is simply silence, nothing more, nothing less. But human nature rarely allows for such simplicity. Silence invites meaning, and meaning invites narrative. And so the story grows, layer by layer, shaped not only by what is known, but by what is felt, imagined, and feared. As the days pass, the intensity of the discourse shows no sign of fading. If anything, it evolves, taking on new dimensions as more voices join the conversation. Analysts, commentators, and longtime observers of the K-pop industry begin to weigh in, offering perspectives that range from cautious skepticism to thoughtful reflection. Some emphasize the importance of respecting boundaries, reminding audiences that not every aspect of a public figure's life is meant to be consumed. Others acknowledge the inevitability of curiosity, recognizing it as an intrinsic part of fandom culture. And somewhere within this ongoing dialogue lies a paradox that is difficult to resolve. The very connection that fans feel, the emotional bond that makes them care so deeply, is also what drives the desire to know more, to understand more, to uncover what lies beneath the surface. It is both a strength and a vulnerability, a source of unity and a catalyst for speculation. What makes this moment particularly compelling is not just the possibility of a hidden truth, but the way it reflects broader questions about perception, privacy, and the nature of connection in a hyper-visible world. How much of what we see is real, and how much is shaped by expectation? How do we reconcile the image presented on stage with the reality that exists off it? And perhaps most importantly, where should the line be drawn between curiosity and intrusion? These questions do not have easy answers. And perhaps that is why the story continues to resonate so deeply. It is not just about Jungkook and Taehyung. It is about the way we, as an audience, engage with the lives of those we admire. It is about the narratives we construct, the meanings we assign, and the emotions we invest. In the end, the truth, whatever it may be, remains just out of reach. It exists somewhere beyond the noise, beyond the speculation, in a space that may never be fully accessible to the public. And yet, the search for it continues, driven by a mixture of curiosity, concern, and an undeniable desire to understand. Perhaps one day, clarity will come. Or perhaps it won't. Perhaps the story will fade, replaced by new narratives, new moments, new questions. But for now,